Let's just start off with Man City, our pre-season, looking very, very shaky in the transfer market. Now, obviously, we've just won the treble, and there's about 6, 7, 8 players that could all leave the club. Now, obviously, City are raking in millions from the academy, but I'm talking first-team players that could all leave. At the start of next season, we might be without Laporte. Ilkay Gundogan's already left. Bernardo Silva might be going to Saudi Arabia. Riyad Mahrez is about to leave as well, by all accounts. Even someone like Julian Alvarez has been linked to a move to Bayern Munich, and of course, Calvin Phillips. It's absolutely huge for City.
You know, if you supported any other club and you were going through this exodus, it would be a real troubling situation. So I'm a Chelsea fan. Obviously, Chelsea have done something similar, and it's really problematic. I look at our squad at the moment, and I genuinely believe it's a mid-table squad. Do you suffer in the way that I do, and I think every football fan would? Or is life a lot easier for you because you go, okay, this looks a little bit wild to me, but the club are incredibly well structured and run, and Pep Guardiola is a bona fide genius. Therefore, yeah, I think it's weird. I think it's weird what's going on, but things are going to be all right because we're Man City and because of everything that we just mentioned there.
No, it's a weird mixture between sort of guaranteeing what happened last season, because I think if we had kept the same squad from the treble winners, maybe Ilkay Gundogan definitely leaves, but you keep on to Kyle Walker despite the fact he's 33 years old. You keep Bernardo Silva despite the fact he wants to leave every single summer. Then you're actually saying, as a City fan, next season we could go on and win the Champions League again next season. We could win the Premier League again. Now, that's greedy for me to say that, but a big club like a Real Madrid, they don't look for one Champions League. They look for how can we win 5 in the next 7. Dynasty. And I do believe City are that kind of club.
Although, do you know what? I think you're in a quite good situation because, generally speaking, for Man City, because of the brilliance and I think the wealth comes into it, but also the track record over the past, say, decade or so. A Premier League, wrongly, is often sneered at for Man City. So, for example, last season, if Man City just won a league, people would say that and they would use the prefix just a league, only a league. Whereas, for next season, I think you've got a little bit of a gift because only a league next season is actually history. History has been made. You will have won 4 in a row. Yeah. So suddenly, it isn't only a league next year. It isn't just a league next year. Yeah. If you manage to retain the league, it again is Man City creating history, writing history, setting a new standard, creating a new bar.
Yeah. I think the club are smart enough to think, actually, okay, it's all well and good saying we can win the Champions League next season, which I'm 1,000,000% with the best squad in Europe. In 2, 3, 4 years, we don't know where we are. We don't know because Real Madrid have got Jude Bellingham. You might be, as a Chelsea football club, might be a lot further down the line.
Optimistic.
So what I think the transfer activity from City is actually saying is that this is a post-Guardiola era for Man City that is starting now. He's sort of said that if he was to win the Champions League, he's kind of inferred that he's only got a couple of years left on his deal. And I think some of the players that might get more of an opportunity if Riyad Mahrez leaves, Cole Palmer, James McAtee comes back from being on loan with Sheffield United. These players aren't ready to win the Champions League tomorrow, but they are when Guardiola leaves in a couple of years.
I'm slightly... Why are we talking like this? Why are you talking post-Guardiola era?
Because I think you get rid of Kyle Walker, he could help us win the Champions League next season. There's no question. Is he going to help you win the Premier League in a post-Guardiola era in 2 years' time? No, he's not. But Rico Lewis is, for example, another younger player. So I think City are looking at a kind of transition of, giving Guardiola the money to replace Riyad Mahrez if he wants to, replace Calvin Phillips if that is another option as well. And of course, bring in the likes of Garvidal, of course.
Well, this is a problem as well, isn't it? So Rice is now an Arsenal player. Guardiola is still a RB player.
Yeah.
Kyle Walker is now a Bayern player. Joao Cancelo is going to be back asking some questions soon, I imagine.
Yeah, he'll be definitely gone.
Nobody knows where Bernardo Silva is.
Yeah, he wants to leave every summer. That's the reality. He wants to go to Paris, and that's more of a family thing as well. So the only reason I'm bringing up the Guardiola era is because I don't think you can just give Guardiola the tools for the next 2 years and then not think about what happens. Look at the decline from Arsene Wenger. Look at the decline from Ferguson. It's huge. And I think City are trying to transition into a world where we've got a base younger squad, a bit like Arsenal. Look how young that Arsenal squad is, from defence, midfield to attack. So if Arteta was to leave tomorrow, maybe City are looking at Arteta in a couple of years, by the way, then a lot of those players are all transferable. They could play for another manager. But Kyle Walker, 35 years old. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ilkay Gundogan, 34 years old by the time he leaves. It's a different situation. But it's absolutely huge. I mean, the likes. If there is on the flip side, look, we can be kind of football analysts about it and think long term. We have no idea what the future holds. Ultimately, Kyle Walker is the best right back in world football. Ultimately, Bernardo Silva helps us win the Champions League. Massive goal against Bayern Munich and massive performance against Real Madrid and Inter Milan. And Ilkay Gundogan's gone to Barcelona, who are European rivals for the Champions League next season. So it is a bit worrying.
Do you think ultimately that you're going to be fine? So the Champions League final next year, Wembley Stadium, do you believe that Manchester City are going to be there? Or is this exodus and the lack of incomings? That's the weird thing. Because also, do you know another player who I rate so highly? Laporte. He's available, I think.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
And
30 million.
Which is a very manageable fee for most clubs. I don't understand why people aren't sort of desperately snapping, forming an orderly queue to sign him.
Might be the wages. I think City are a very stubborn club in a good way of if no one's coming in for 30 million with his wage package, then they aren't going to let him go. Juventus are obviously linked with him as well. So it's a weird mixture. Going back to your question, our starting 11 is comparable to some of the best sides to ever come out of this country, period.
Even now?
Our starting 11.
Even without, say, Walker, who you may or may not think started, even without Mari, if you take, maybe rather than focusing on an 11, what about the 15 that are going to compete?
That's the worry. That's the worry. Kovacic comes in, that's like for like at best. We can't say it's yeah, exactly. We can't say it's an improvement right now.
Yeah.
But he could turn out to be a different kind of player to Ilkay Gundogan. He could be an improvement. That's what I'm trying to say. Calvin Phillips could come good. Big question mark, of course. But then you've still got a nucleus there of Ederson, who put in an unbelievable performance in the Champions League final. Ruben Diaz, John Stones, De Bruyne, Phil Foden, who barely played a game last season.
Yeah,
and then the big man.
The spine, isn't it? Spine. If you when you think over the years of any Premier League winner, in fact, if you go so Chelsea's best ever era would have gone Cech, Terry, Lampard, Drogba. And Manchester United, I'm sure Adam would be better qualified to do this than I am, but there are various eras that you could choose. But maybe you go, I don't know, Van der Sar, Rio Ferdinand, Rooney, Michael Carrick, that kind of spine. The spine of a team will generally dictate the success of the team. And what goes on around that, as long as Chelsea had that spine, whether it was Joe Cole or whether it was Arjen Robben or whether it was Damien Duff, it didn't really matter as long as that spine was solid. And I feel that that's the case at City, isn't it? The spine is there.
It was the spine that won the Champions League with Di Matteo.
Yes.
You had Ryan Bertrand at left back, but it didn't matter because John Terry had a great left wing. Exactly. But you saw John Terry in those knockout games getting you to the final. Yeah. And the big thing I was going to say is, okay, let's just say next season we're completely flat-footed. De Bruyne's still a little bit injured. We've lost so many players because of running down contracts, and Riyad Mahrez has gone, all these guys. Guess what? You lump the ball into Erling Haaland.
You hope for the best.
And you could win the Champions League next season. He's that prodigious as a talent that next season we could win the Champions League with Erling Haaland and everyone else has been sold.
Are you hoping to see some arrivals?
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Is there anyone in particular? Is there any, maybe even not an individual, but a position? So they were talking about that Pavard, weren't they? Who would effectively do a flip reverse with Walker.
Yeah.
But I don't really care.
I'm not sold on Pavard. I'm not sold. He's a good seasoned professional. He won the World Cup with France. He scored that unbelievable goal, that kind of curler, unbelievable.
He's not going to get in the head of John Stones there, is he?
No, he's a right back.
4 centre halves that he likes to do now.
He's a right back. But Akanji came in from the Bundesliga in a similar fashion, kind of underrated transfer, and he was imperious for us in the Champions League run-in. So it's hard. You need pace. You can't buy pace. I think Rico Lewis is a nippy player, but Kyle Walker is a one in a generation kind of.
Yeah.
Give him a 2-year contract, please.
I think so. It's also the first time that Kyle Walker's had any kind of issue with his place in the team. It's the first time in his Man City career that he's ever had to compete to get in the team. He's always first name on the team sheet. I'm surprised, but equally, I personally, for me, I don't understand the allure of the Bundesliga or Bayern Munich, to be totally honest. I appreciate that Bayern Munich are a massive club. I just find it all fairly uninspiring, the Bundesliga. But I can see why Kyle Walker, who has done so well with Man City, won everything that he could possibly win in this country, been a standout performer internationally. It's almost the last hurdle. It's the last question. Can he do it on the continent? Can he win a title abroad? I mean, the answer is yes, of course. But
This one was guaranteed.
I think it's guaranteed. Yeah, was it 11 out of 11 years
It's
in
at
a row?
least 10 in a row, I think.
I think they won it this year. It's 11. I think
11.
So this will be 12 with Walker. But look, who you hoping arrives? Is there any? If you were to give me one name,
Gvardiol from Red Bull Leipzig.
I think it's a silent V.
Gvardiol.
No, I think
Gvardiol.
You're West Country. you're butchering this.
We were killing the kid from Liverpool as well in the comments of our recent YouTube video.
No, you were.
No, everyone was saying that my pronunciation
you were
was
terrible.
best. Check the comments.
No, you were really
Dominic
bad.
Szoboszlai.
No, you were really bad for it. No, I was listening to that. I didn't know. I actually didn't know who you were talking about. I didn't know. Liverpool have signed a different player.
Gvardiol from Leipzig, for me, is the kind of transfer. You can sign these tricky little players. It takes a couple of years to get used to it. I think he could come in and be a rock at the back. And if you can keep it tight at the back, you can score 50-odd goals a season with Erling Haaland.
Yeah, Haaland, Grealish,
all this kind of nuance.
Haaland, Grealish, Foden, there's goals.
Who's your right winger? Who's your left back? Who's your right back? Don't matter. What can I say?